Welcome, everyone, to episode 28 of the Dual Boot Diaries, the weekly podcast where two longtime Windows users learn to use Linux daily. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Patrick Murray.
I'm your other host, Will Smith, and we are not Linux experts, although maybe we're getting there. Each week, we go through our experiences of using Linux daily, with the whole show culminating in us deleting either Windows or Linux from our computer, moving on with our lives. Although I gotta say, in a world where Marathon's anti-cheat doesn't work in Linux, the chances of me deleting Windows are declining every single day.
Oh, wow. You're really into that Marathon, huh?
No, I'm not. But I want to go over and play that, but it's such a pain to boot. So I'm like, I'm an aspirational Marathon player, Adam.
Is it on GeForce Now?
Yeah, but I think it's too fast for GeForce Now. I'll try GeForce Now and see how it is. I'll report back on that. First homework for the week right here.
Yeah, there you go. At the top of the show, we already got homework for next week. Also at the top of the show, I have some news. I've been emailing back and forth with one Sapphire Ed, who was on
Sapphire Ed,
December. Yeah,
or maybe last year.
Yeah. I think we ran the episode between Christmas and New Year, just giving his journey, because he's been on this
with Ed. Yeah,
he's been on this journey too. He sent me an email, and the very first line was, "I'm sad to report my current Linux adventure has come to an end."
Oh no.
Excuse me, but you know, he went back and forth on some of his stuff, and the latest episode, or the latest email, he said, make sure people understand I did not stop looking at Linux to replace Windows, but it kind of boils down to functionality of the devices he has. And specifically, the biggest one for him is webcam support. He wants to, he prefers using a webcam that has PTZ control, so pan, tilt, zoom.
Yeah, I use one of those.
Yeah, I don't know if he mentioned which one he has. He said he tried using camera CRTL, camera control.
Yeah, we talked about that a long time ago. I've switched over to webcam control, which is actually in my notes. It's billed as a controller for the webcam I use, which is InstaLink 2, I think, which is like their little action cam sensor and lens on a gimbal.
Okay,
but it doesn't have exposure controls. It has all the stuff that the Windows software has. You can do pan, tilt, zoom. I can whip it around like crazy. No exposure controls. So I have to set exposure in Windows, which feels bad.
Yeah. Well, what about OBS? Can you feed it into OBS? Don't you use the OBS virtual camera?
Yeah, I can. I can do that too. But also, I think they just don't expose the exposure controls. Like, they have unexposed exposure controls. Is the real problem here.
Yeah, you cover those up, man. We don't want to see those exposure controls.
Just auto expose everything.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I actually think Ed is kind of where I'm at right now currently, of just like frustration with certain peripherals. We had a good discussion over on the Discord too, and some people were like, "Oh wow, I guess I've been lucky with the combination of mouse, keyboard, whatever I use," and some people who have, you know, more complicated setups, or not even complicated, just specific things that need Windows drivers or Windows controlling, that is just like, wow, okay, well that sucks. And Ed, I mean, he talked about this even when he came on our episode of, like, he was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I need to switch to a different, what was it? One of them was like a DAC, I think, for his audio stuff.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, and he's like, okay, you know what? Maybe I just need to get some gear that is more Linux friendly. But yeah, like his thing boils down to the USB stuff. It's just like anything you plug in via USB either doesn't have full operation as it would under Windows. So maybe you have to literally give up certain functionality, or it just doesn't work, or it's spotty, things like that. And
I mean, look, on the plus
I feel
side,
his pain.
Now he can go and ask Copilot how he can get it to work on Linux, and that'll solve his problems, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he said he's not done, but it's simpler for him to do everything in Windows, and especially actually he says here, if this camera thing had not been so irritating, I would have stayed with Linux and never looked back. So for him specifically, he's like dual booting doesn't make sense for me to go, oh, I have a meeting, let me just fire up my dual boot into Windows. Like, that's annoying. I did write him back and was like, oh, have you tried maybe doing a VM? Like, could you have Windows just for your meetings kind of thing and pass all the USB control through that? He hasn't got back to me about that kind of stuff. But like, I think there are other things, and yeah, maybe you can share with him your setup. But yeah, it's
I
weird.
mean, it's so I had to take a meeting on my laptop the other day, and I hadn't done that before, I guess. So I had my AirPods paired with it, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just connect my AirPods and use that as my microphone, and use the camera built into the thing." And I couldn't get the microphone to work, so I had to switch to doing the meeting on my phone, just because it wasn't working, and I was like, "This is bizarre. I've never had this problem before." So I'm glad you said that, because I'm going to put that in my homework too, so I can track that down and figure out why I wasn't able to do a Google meeting on my laptop.
Yeah, and ultimately, I mean, there was some good chatter. I mean, there's definitely some people who had given feedback of my frustrations with everybody coming in being like, well, have you tried this distro or this distro? Plenty of people are like, oh, hey, listen, I ran into that same thing as a new user too. You always think maybe there's a distro on the other side that somebody's like, oh, I haven't had any problems over here, so why don't I try that? But yeah, I get sucked into that for sure. But at the end of the day, like I do at least understand that sticking with one, learning how to do it in there, and kind of getting comfortable with there is probably the way to go, unless there are certain things that are just like, no distro can solve this. Like a specific piece of software, like for your mouse or my trackball. Like, I don't think they're ever going to make Linux versions of that. The best case maybe is to have some sort of web-based utility, which is more and more common, right?
No distro is going to fix what's broken in your heart, Adam. That's the thing you need to remember.
But I'm hoping somebody,
I mean, maybe one day. Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
There's a distro out there that will heal the things in my heart, and it's called StreamOS.
Oh, no, StreamOS is dead, unfortunately. I looked. StreamOS, for folks who don't know, who aren't in the Discord, last week I joked that I was going to make an opinionated distro for the second PC streaming setup, and then I looked at the amount of work that's involved in setting up a distro, and I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not. Nope. That's too much. I don't have to maintain server infrastructure and start collecting donations and set up I don't need any more LLCs. I'm good.
But Will, you looked into it. This was just a joke last week. We were talking about Will OS, or like we came up with I don't know who to credit for the StreamOS. I don't remember. Maybe multiple people came up with it, but I was just like, oh, StreamOS, that really makes sense.
Yeah, it's perfectly confusing with SteamOS. We can continue that long tradition. Yeah.
But you looked into it nonetheless. You were like, oh, this funny joke. What if I did look into what it would take? So your first reaction is, oh no, this is a lot of work. But maybe in a couple weeks you're like, actually, maybe that's not much work.
So I did, the amount of work I did was I Googled how to make a Linux distro.
And then wait, you should ask Copilot. Come on, what are you doing?
And then there wasn't a good response to that, because that's a question that only a crazy person would ask. So the first thing I got was Linux from scratch, which I'm going to talk to my friend Brad Shoemaker about in the future, because he's interested in that.
There you go.
The second one was how to make my own Linux distro, a Linux question r/Linux question subreddit answer, and that was like, there ended up being a very bare bones. Yeah, first you have to do this, then you have to do this, then you have to figure out which source headers you're going to use, then you have to compile all these other things, and blah 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 blah. And I was like, nope, that's too much work. And then I stopped reading, because I was like, I'm not going to do this. But I did read the Gemini AI overview, which said the easy, and it air quotes easy, is to just respin an existing distro. So you take something like Debian or Ubuntu or Arch, customize it, and create a new ISO, and then you're done.
There you go. Yeah,
I was like, that actually does sound not too bad. But anyway, no, thank you. I'm good.
Listen, Will, I mean, I feel like we know a guy I feel like if we called up Wendell and we were like, hey, listen, we're still doing this Dual Boot Diaries thing.
Yeah.
And now Will is so far down the rabbit hole that he wants to make his own opinionated distro. You know Wendell. He'd probably be like, oh, wow. I haven't heard of a distro that just focuses on streaming only utility stuff. Okay, yeah, I'm in.
I mean, because the thought is good, right? I think the thought is still good.
Is good.
The idea of, hey, I'm streaming, I have a 2 PC setup, and I want to just not have to futz with Windows anymore on that machine, and I want something that just, you boot it up, it goes straight to the desktop, you get OBS, you get your bots, you get your audio stuff, all of that stuff's just piped in there and ready to go, and you don't have any other weirdness around the OBS implementations on Linux. Pretty compelling.
That sounds like a really good opinion.
Yeah.
For a highly opinionated distro. Also, real quick, isn't there a command line version of OBS?
Yeah, but I don't know. Well, that's
does this need to have a GUI is what I'm asking.
I think it has to have a GUI for all the compositing. Because I don't think the command line, I think the command line version of OBS is like FFmpeg, where it'll just turn one stream into another stream.
Oh, okay.
But I actually don't know about that.
Might
That's
be
interesting.
Funny.
There is an OBS CLI. God, that's a nightmare. I don't want to talk about that. Okay, anyway.
All right. What else have you been working on? Other than researching your upcoming distro, StreamOS by Will OS.
Yeah. My new the logo is just a picture of a man pulling his hair out, just going, "Oh my God, this is the worst day of my life." Anyway,
I mean, the logo is the most important part of a distro, right?
Yes, you gotta have a logo, you gotta have a mascot. Maybe the mascot is the guy pulling his hair out, and the logo is
you have
like,
to have a mascot. There's already the Tux guy.
Everybody has a mascot. BSD has the little devil guy. Ubuntu has the metaphysical incantation of love.
I just call that the logo, right? I don't think that's a mascot.
Okay. Maybe you don't. I want a mascot, Adam. Don't take this away from me.
Start taking donations so you can hire a really highly respected logo designer. Pay him.
And we'll get Banksy
$10,000. Banksy, yeah. Okay. Highly respected logo designer Banksy.
Linux thing. It's a picture.
Maybe Banksy is big into Linux.
Yeah, penguin holding a red balloon, looking sad. Okay, so I did more pull requests this week.
Hold on,
hi.
Man. You really are in it.
I'm going to tell you.
You got that juice, and you were like, "Oh man, I'm actually submitting stuff to a
I'm a contributor.
You're a contributor. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't stop being a contributor. I got to continue to contribute. What did you contribute this time?
I started getting GitHub achievements, man. I'm getting like GitHub is like, hey man, you're doing all sorts of pull requests in business. Get some Chivos, and I was like, I like Chivos. I haven't felt Chivos like this since the Xbox 360. This is feeling pretty good.
Wait.
Yeah.
GitHub has achievements.
Yeah.
GitHub is owned by Microsoft.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be funny if they popped up like Microsoft, like Xbox achievements?
Sadly, they do not pop up on the bottom of your screen like Xbox achievements. I bet that
really
somebody
should.
I guarantee you that somebody has made a Linux application that does that. That you hook into your GitHub account, and like every time you get a GitHub achievement, it pops up on the bottom of your screen like the Xbox 360.
You should integrate that into StreamOS.
Yeah, that'll be part of StreamOS too. I'm gonna put that on my
StreamOS 2. There's a sequel already.
Yeah,
you haven't even started it.
Look, man, you gotta plan for the future. We have a 12-year roadmap. Okay. Achievements for GitHub like 360. Putting that on my homework too. Maybe that's my first real application. Okay, so. Last week we talked about Liquid Control, which is the library that lets AIOs work with, pull liquid temperatures and fan header speeds and stuff like that out of AIOs.
That you contributed to.
I contributed. I added support for my AIO into that library by looking deep into the USB IDs on my device and pulling out some information with like LS USB and LS to get the relevant information off of my device.
And since last week, it actually got not approved, or
it's out.
What is
like the newest version of Liquid Control supports the Asus Ryujin 360 White Edition, which is the one that I have. They do different USB. So Asus does different USB IDs for the different versions of the AIOs. I assume because in Windows they skin the like the images that pop up on the screen are slightly different for like the EVA edition versus the white edition versus the Extreme or whatever.
Probably to show up in like Armory Crate or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it ends up being really frustrating for the hardware people because that means they have to add like the only way they can find out the IDs is by getting people to look them up for them, basically.
Well, so real quick, you covered this last week, but I just want to recap just so I have it in my mind. Mm-hmm. You downloaded a fork of yeah. So you fork it, you put your thing in there, and then you put it back up, and then you asked for it to get pulled back into the main thing. And then somebody looked at it and was like, "Okay, cool, this works." Did they? How do you get notified that it got put back in?
You get a notification in GitHub in your inbox that says,
it's a GitHub thing.
Hey, your pull request was accepted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
so,
do you get your name like on their GitHub as a contributor? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So if you go to Liquid Control, github.com/Liquid Control, I think. Hold on. Then I'm on the contributor list now.
Dang. And it's just Will Smith, contributed from Will Smith.
I think my username is typically not that Will Smith, but yeah.
Man,
it's Liquid Control/Liquid Control because Liquid Control's the username. And I'm toward the bottom of the list because I did literally like 6 lines of code in this.
That's still pretty cool, though. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm a little jealous.
Yeah.
You know? Well, I'm getting a little jealous, I guess.
Well, I mean, look. So here's the thing. The thing I realized is I looked deep in my heart a couple weeks ago, and I was like, this isn't working the way I want it to, and I could just keep changing distros, chasing the next high. Just escalating from one drug to another until eventually I'm like in a Requiem for a Dream situation, or I could make the world a better place myself, and I could go out and I could add support for the features that I want to the software that I use every day. And I decided to be a contributor, Adam. Just getting out there doing it right.
Okay. We'll get to this later. Hold on. I don't like where this is going. I feel like this is a challenge, but we'll talk about this.
Yeah, how much open source software can we break by recklessly committing new code? No, in reality, I just wanted to get liquid temperatures for cooler control. All of this started because I miss having fan control on Windows. Fan control is a piece of software in Windows that you can say, take this temperature sensor and make a graph, and at different speeds, at different temperatures, increase the fan speed different amounts, basically. Incredibly powerful piece of software. It's great if you have an AIO because you can hook it to the liquid temperature inside the AIO typically. Or
important.
Yeah, which is nice because then the fans only spin up when the liquid actually starts getting warm, which takes longer than, say, the CPU speed spinning up. So you don't get the vroom, 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 vroom of like up and down CPU utilization. So anyway, I got all that working. I got liquid control working last week. And then I pulled that down, and cooler control didn't actually see the AIO still. And I think I talked about this a little bit. It turns out they don't like the liquid control driver for the particular AIOs that I'm using. The cooler control people don't like the using liquid control for the Ryujin drivers. They use a different system called HWMon, which hooks in at a kernel level. Course, because it's Linux, there's always 18 different ways to do everything. And then the thing I was told was typically HWMon lives downstream of liquid control. So people figure out the protocols and like the hardware IDs and all that stuff on the liquid control project, and then the HWMon guy just pulls those changes into HWMon every few months. But if you want to make it happen faster, you can kind of just do the pull request and do the work yourself. So I was like, okay. And I went over to the HWMon driver, which is called ASUS _ROG _Ryujin -HWMon. Perfectly cromulent name. And I looked at the current outstanding issues, and one of them is Ryujin 3, support for Ryujin 3, implement support for Ryujin 3. And
not just the white one, just all of them.
Well, it was all of them but the white one, or several of them except for the white one. So I went and looked at that, and that person had done a ton of work kind of bringing in the changes that had happened to make the Ryujin 2 driver work with the Ryujin 3 hardware. And I said, I jumped into the thread for that because it's like a message board. There's a comment thread. I was like, hey, I've got a commit for liquid control that adds this other hardware SKU that isn't supported yet on your commit. And the guy was like, oh, okay. If you send it to me, I'll merge it into this one. Or if not, but I was like, I don't know how to test it in HWMon. So they walked me through setting up testing and how to compile the driver for my kernel on Cache, which was great. And I did that and I got it working. And then the maintainer was like, oh, will you submit a PR separately from this if you have more IDs? And you'll do that. And
pull request.
Okay. Pull request.
PR.
Yeah.
Pull
PR.
request.
Pull request.
Okay.
So I did that. It got accepted immediately because it was really simple. And it's in HWMon now. And when I download and install this ASUS ROG Ryujin HWMon driver, my stuff shows up in cooler control now. Now, there's an asterisk, as often there is.
Well, real quick, now you've contributed to 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I'm one of 3 contributors to this ASUS Ryujin HWMon driver.
And not only that, you did I hear you correctly? You compiled something?
I compile stuff all the time. I'm compiling stuff left and right up in here.
Oh,
so
really?
Okay. So this is this particular piece of software is a kernel driver, I think, a kernel module.
Okay.
And you compile it against the kernel that you're running, right? So you have to compile it for the version of the kernel and the headers and all the stuff that you're using, which is a little bit of a hassle. Now, the problem is I don't know how, like, the next time I pull a kernel update from Cache, is this all going to just break and stop working? And I think the answer is probably yes. So I went in the Linux channel on the Full Nerd Discord, and I was like, hey, first off, I've got this thing running on, when I boot up, I type mod probe and then some stuff, and it loads the driver, and that's fine. But it doesn't stick between reboots. So how do I do that? 1. And 2, am I going to have to compile this every time I update my Windows, my Linux kernel, which on Cache happens kind of a lot. And the chatter there was that, yes, you are going to have to do that. Now, the good thing is I learned about this thing called DKMS, which is dynamic kernel module support, which is, I'm going to read from the Arch Linux wiki here. Dynamic kernel module support is a programmer framework that enables generating Linux kernel modules whose sources generally reside outside the kernel source tree. So it's like stuff that attaches to the kernel but isn't part of the kernel. The concept is to have these modules automatically rebuilt when a new kernel is installed, which is exactly what I want. And that's as far as I've gotten because it looked crazy. Oh, sorry. Beep.
Mark clip.
It looked incredibly complicated, okay? I looked at this and I just shook my head and I was like, oh no. So the answer to making this work in a smart and easy way might be actually to put it in the AUR as a package that you could just download and install. Because right now, to install this, you download the module code, compile it, and then do some business on your own. And if you want it to be easy, I might have to make it a package. So anyway, that's the next step.
Hold on. Okay, so you've contributed to 2 things, and now you're on your way to creating a package that then I'm assuming you'd have to do a pull request for the AUR to get it up there?
I don't know how you get, so I haven't gotten that far yet. Yeah.
And then after that, you create other packages that contribute to an opinionated distro called StreamOS.
We're not there yet.
So,
don't put that hex on me.
I mean, come on, you're on the way, dude. It's like the Golden Brick Road, one little brick at a time. This is
Yellow
how people
Brick
get
Road,
there.
you mean?
I don't know what movie you watched.
But Did you watch Wizard of Oz translated to like Czech and then back to English?
I'm sorry, I'm punchy this morning. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, look, you're thinking about, so you got StreamOS in your head. You're like, we could be running this in the shop. Okay, so that's the webcam control. I mean, that's the cooler control. Cooler control is rad. Now that it's working with the liquid temperature, I mean, I do have to load that module every time I boot and then restart the cooler control service, which is like kind of a hassle. But like realistically, it's not that bad right now. I'll figure it out. Cooler control, I wrote my notes here. It makes fan control look kind of like a turd sandwich. Fan control is good.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Fan control is really cool.
You know what I always had problems with fan control on?
What?
Running at boot. which I guess also technically I have here, but there's a path to not having that in the future for me. Okay.
I never had problems with fan control running a boot.
I always got UAC prompts, and it wasn't often. It was when it did upgrades and stuff, or the service version wouldn't run right for me on my machines pretty consistently. So it was always like my computer was really loud for the first 30 seconds, and then fan control would spin up in the user space, and it would be fine. But yeah, like it gives you the same kind of curves. It gives you a lot of customizability. It is not as easy to configure up front if you don't kind of know what you're doing, but if you do, it's basically the same idea. And it also gives you access to the entire rest of the monitoring infrastructure, so you can see things like the temperatures on the temperatures and voltages and stuff like that, frequencies and all sorts of business for everything in your system, which is super duper good.
Yeah,
really recommended.
Yeah, that is nice. I mean, especially like the thing is that you have 360 AIO that has a lot of bells and whistles. This is new, right? I think a lot of people are running on air, so like air coolers for their CPUs. So like I think this is overkill for probably a lot of people.
I think that's fair. Yeah,
but I mean, it like this is an interesting test case. Like we've been talking about recently, like. Right, there are certain things that people use that they rely on, and it seems like, if it's not working, that sucks. So it is nice, it is commendable that you're like, oh, you know what, I'm actually going to take the time to make that work.
Well, and for me, the noise is important because I do spend a lot of time sitting in front of the microphone here recording audio. This AIO, and actually it's a kind of new thing. A lot of AIOs now have a fan on the pump header that goes on the socket, right? Mm-hmm. And those fans are typically really loud if you run them full bore. Also, on most of them, I think Arcticool gives you a separate header for it that you can plug into the motherboard, but most of them are exposed as USB devices through the AIO software, not through the typical like motherboard fan control interfaces. So like having that thing run full speed would be a deal breaker for me on Linux because it runs at like 6,000 RPMs and it sounds like a jet engine.
You have an Asus motherboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually. Have you seen what gets exposed in the fan control system in the UEFI?
Yeah, it doesn't see anything. It doesn't see the liquid temperature. It doesn't see the pump header fan. And actually, that's all you can control in this because this AIO doesn't have fan headers for the fans, for the radiator fans. It's only for the fan on the pump head.
Oh, because it's all integrated. Yeah. So it just sees it as one fan. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Weird. That's a bummer. Like you would think. And maybe this is for certain products, but you would think like, oh, if I'm going to buy an MSI motherboard with an MSI cooler, then those things should get extra functionality because they're both MSI or something. Like maybe there is that kind of stuff out there, but maybe it's just not in the setup that you have.
Well, if you're all running Armory Crate, then it all shows up in Armory Crate together, right? Like
I know, but imagine if you could solve this. One of the ways you could solve this is be like, oh, I can configure all this through the UEFI, right? If you had an air cooler, I think that's what a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I do at least, right?
That's what the StreamOS machine does too.
Yeah, you're already using it. You're already using the name. I love it. You should probably copyright that or something. But the thing is that's. Maybe I should actually reach out to Asus and see like if there are specific things in their line that allow for more deeper control in the UEFI. Because if you could do it in there, then it's like, okay, who cares to a certain degree.
I mean, it's frustrating. I actually want to boot back into Windows and install Liquid Control with fan control and see if the AIO shows up in fan control now. Because this AIO has never showed up in fan control. Like it's the way I was tracking liquid temperatures is that I actually took a thermistor, a temperature sensing header from my motherboard and ran it up and jammed it into the metal of the radiator. And then added like 5 degrees to that. So that I could get a reasonable approximation of what the liquid temperature was without running Armory Crate. So anyway, I like generally speaking, ASUS seems to be moving in the right direction. A lot of their newer hardware has web interfaces for stuff, which is great for like settings and control. Their keyboards and mice and some of that stuff do. So hopefully this is a problem of the past and not and won't be in the future, right? I would love it if people just expose this stuff. Like honestly, the ultimate for this should be that ASUS is submitting code to these repositories instead of me, right? And like you shouldn't have to figure out reverse engineer the USB protocols for this stuff. So the last note on that is I talked to Machine, who is one of the maintainers of Cooler Control, when I was working through all this, because initially when the Liquid Control software wasn't letting me see it in the Cooler Control, seeing the AIO temperatures, I posted a message in their Discord or in their GitHub issues, and they responded immediately and were like, "Oh, send me logs and we'll work through it. Maybe something's not configured right." And then we realized that they don't use that driver for reasons that are outside the scope of this conversation. But like super friendly and super helpful, and they actually do the maintenance for a plugin called Cooler Dash, which lets you put stuff on your AIO's screen if you have an AIO with a screen. Now mine isn't supported, of course, but like we'll get there. But it seems like it's
but you could
NZXT
contribute
stuff
to that, right?
I don't. So I volunteered to install a Windows VM and Wireshark and collect sniff USB data going to this device when you're changing the images, which is how they figure out how to do this, right?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So yeah, you run Windows inside a virtual machine, and then you connect in Linux a sniffer to the USB output from that VM into the USB device on the Linux machine.
Okay.
And that's how they reverse engineer the protocols.
Oh, that's cool.
That's probably as far as I'm going to get on that, because that's like technical, scary, hard business. But anyway,
I mean, that's still contributing, right?
it's still helping. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You might not get your name in an achievement pop up on GitHub.
With no achievements. I'm fine. I don't need I don't do this for the achievements, Adam.
I don't know. Earlier, you were kind of hinting that you're in it for the achievements.
I like an achievement, but I'm not doing it for the achievements. Those are two different ideas.
Okay.
Anyway, so let's see. The last couple of things, some small stuff. I did try the Stream PC setup. I mentioned last week that I got a message that my GPU wasn't supported for OBS Enhanced Broadcast.
Yeah.
And then I checked the box back on the next time I did a stream, and it worked fine. So my guess is Twitch changed something on their back end, because like that Enhanced Broadcast stuff is a conversation between OBS and Twitch, the provider. Mm-hmm. And then they realized they'd made a mistake and changed it back, and everything's fine.
Okay.
And then there was a big cache update this weekend. They did their March update, and one of the banner notes in it was, "Hey, we've done a lot of work on handheld mode." So I took that Asus ROG Ally X, and I was like, "I'm going to update this." And I opened up the Steam, it boots straight into the Steam OS UI, and I hit the update button. And I was like, "Oh, perfect, I'm done." And then I looked at the version numbers. I was like, "Wait, no, it only updated Steam. It didn't actually update the OS." So then I went. And it took a surprising amount of time to figure out how to update the OS on handheld mode. I eventually found a forum post that was like, "Oh no, you have to go into desktop mode and like run Paru or run Pacman-SYU or whatever." At which point I realized when I set up that machine, because I thought it was just going to be a tester that I wasn't actually going to use for very long, I don't remember what password I set.
Well, a lot of these actually have a default password.
Yep. Nope. Not this one.
Nope. That didn't work.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. So I tried all of the stupid passwords I use for stuff that things aren't real. None of those.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. I also remembered as I was doing this that I discovered after I'd done the install that the keyboard that I was using was double hitting keys.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that. We can talk about this separately.
We should throw that keyboard in the trash. I know which one it is, and I will make a video destroying it next week.
I mean, I have a keyboard right here that I'm using. This Cooler Master one. And it still does that.
So, I hadn't used that keyboard before, and my assumption is that when I was setting the password up, that I was hitting the 5 or the Y key multiple times, and it was just doing it in the same predictable way. So it passed the password check, but failed the, "Hey, you can actually type this on another keyboard." So then I got to go on an adventure because I was like, how do you fix a lost password on Linux? Now, I know some people in this situation might just say, well, let's just reinstall Linux.
I mean, come on, you could just reinstall it. It'd be easier, right?
No. So I booted into the Cache installer, and then I used the cache-ch root tool, which lets you connect to an existing cache install and log in as root on that existing install on another drive. And the cache, normally you just use chroot for this, which is, I think, short for change root, probably. So like basically you get a terminal that's attached to this other version, this other installed Linux, right? The cache one you use because ButterFS, because of all the way the subvolumes and stuff work, it's challenging to do all the mount all the boots, I guess, mount all the volumes, because like there's a home subvolume, there's a root subvolume, there's all that. So I did that, and then I typed chpwd and my name, my username, and changed the password, and then I restarted and it was fine. So no problem.
That seems like a security risk if it's that easy.
But if you have access to the hardware, there's always I think so the underlying theory is if you have access to the bare metal hardware, you can do whatever you want, right? If you were doing it remotely, you wouldn't be able to do that because you wouldn't be able to chroot into that because you'd have to boot off the USB thumb drive and all that.
True.
So the way to prevent this from working, if you're security conscious, is you just don't turn off the USB ports and then lock the BIOS or UEFI.
Huh.
So
secure boot wouldn't.
If it was encrypted, it would have been if the drive was encrypted, it would have also been a whole nother level of hassle.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Which do you ever check the encrypt this drive on install?
Almost never.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. If I want something encrypted, I usually use a tool like VeraCrypt or something like that and make a volume, like just chuck 20 gigs at a volume and encrypt that volume rather than encrypting the whole drive. But I don't do a whole lot of scary corporate business. Anyway. So that worked. I ran Peru. Peru did the update. It fixed the sleep issues I'd been having with the ROG Ally X, where if it was plugged in and I hit this button to put it to sleep, it would just turn back on after about 20 seconds. If I was unplugged and I hit the power button to go to sleep, it would go to sleep and then I could plug it back. So like turning it off when I was done playing it was, if it was plugged in, was turn it off, then plug it in, or unplug it, put it to sleep, then plug it back in, not just hit the sleep button. And yeah, the update process stunk because you had to go to desktop mode. That's like, I think most of these handheld, non-SteamOS handheld devices, if you want to update, you have to do it manually. Now, they did say there's extra support for Legion Go S and a couple of other devices that were added new to this. So maybe you'll have your mileage may vary.
Yeah, well, I guess we can move over to my homework because it kind of includes what you're talking about here. I actually did bring home the original ROG Ally X. No,
ROG
the
Ally.
X.
Yeah.
The ROG Ally, the original one with the Z1 Extreme chip in it. So that one's a couple years old. Because yes, as you pointed out, I think me trying these new handheld modes on one of the newest handhelds out there is not necessarily the best use case, especially for Linux. Like I forgot that new hardware is just not the best use case for Linux. I get it. So I did bring that home. I've yet to load anything on it because I'm actually having a weird issue with the USB port on it. So yeah, but I want to get around to that, and that's interesting that there's a new handheld mode update. I should go look at the changes for that as well. But I'm going to assume that it should be better supported than the Legion Go 2.
They explicitly called out the Legion Go S, I think, was the one that I saw. So it's pretty good.
Which is newer than the Legion Go 2. So. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Or no, it's older.
Is it?
Yeah, actually, the Legion Go S came out before the Legion Go 2. So
they said, there's a couple of things they said. They've added, they replaced GameScope Session Plus with GameScope Session CacheOS, which is their own fork of Valve's GameScope stuff. And they enabled firmware updates for Steam Deck and Lenovo Legion Go devices, which was one of the big things. So.
And don't forget, the Legion Go S actually shipped with a SteamOS variant. So, like, whatever the Legion Go S stuff that they did with Valve probably got integrated into SteamOS, and now it's going back into CacheOS, if I were having to guess. I guess also other side news, because some people have been waiting for the official SteamOS variant of the Legion Go 2, which Lenovo, they didn't tell me, it was not confirmed, but Lenovo, when I had asked them, they were like, oh, well, if you remember the cadence of the Legion Go S, which first shipped with Windows and then later shipped with the SteamOS variant, he's like, we're maybe that'll happen again. So I think that still could be there. But in other news, which kind of is a little bit more handheld news, which if you want to go get more handheld news, then subscribe to the other podcast that we have on the Full Nerd Network called Expedition Handheld with Russ from Retro Game Core. Really fun. Anyway, one of the things that we're going to be talking about this week is that Lenovo announced that their Legion Go devices, I don't remember exact which ones, or I haven't looked up the exact which ones, will now support the new Windows full screen experience thing that originally launched on the Xbox Ally devices. So
that sounds good.
Maybe. I mean,
well, okay.
I mean, I would still rather do SteamOS, personally, but I mean, at least, I guess if you're going to run Windows because you want to play something like Marathon, which I actually did play on a handheld and I got it to run fairly well. Then it's nice to have a full screen experience that's, I guess, somewhat better than just a normal Windows interface, but I mean, it's not great. So I guess we'll see. Anyway, the other thing, the other handheld thing was something we also talked about over on Expedition Handheld, was that now that the Steam Deck is kind of, it's not out of stock all the time. I do know some people who've reported like, oh, every once in a while you're able to buy one kind of thing. And I guess in other territories, it's not as out of stock as the US. Look. Whatever. Anyway, one of the topics that we had on our very first episode was with the Steam Deck in this situation and that being our default go-to for somebody wanting to buy a handheld gaming PC. What is our next go-to recommendation if that's not the thing? So we had a good debate over there. I'm not going to recap, but one of them, especially in that price range, is the base configuration, the Z2A version of the Xbox Ally, the non-X.
Oh, so with the grips, but yeah.
Yeah, it's the Xbox one, so it has a really nice ergonomics to it, but it doesn't have the Z2 Extreme. I believe it has the Z2A. Or maybe the Z2 Go. I always forget which one's which.
It's basically the same hardware as the Steam Deck, though.
Yes. Yeah. And much cheaper, and especially if you can find it on a deal. So we're talking in the same kind of $500-ish price range as a Steam Deck OLED, maybe $600, depending. But they've been consistently in stock still. And I think that's mostly just because they have the stock. At some point, I think those will dry up. Anyway, long story short, I did reach out to Asus. They're going to send me one of those because the original unit was the X variant, the really nice one, which I have. But that one is very expensive, so that doesn't really count for this. So I'm going to get that in. I know Russ has a video kind of comparing the versions that we think are kind of good Steam Deck alternatives. But one of the things that he didn't do was put any sort of SteamOS or Linux variants on that one, and that's what I plan on doing for maybe my coverage of it. So we'll talk about it on Expedition Handheld. But so I haven't done anything very specific with handhelds recently, but a lot of laying the groundwork to do more testing over there. And I know some of this kind of crosses over into the other podcast, but I think it makes sense to talk about here too.
For me, this was one of the entry points into desktop Linux, right? Like I'd been running servers for years, and the Steam Deck and gaming being good on Linux was like, oh, okay, I can do this. And so, I think I'd like to continue talking about it when it makes sense.
I mean, unfortunately, though, even though I've read documentations on things like Bazzite that says, oh, you don't have to go to the desktop, that, depending on whatever the configuration is, like it like detects if you're doing something that's not intensive, that it'll update in the background or something like that. But for the most part, I feel like I've had to, especially upon first install, I've had to shell out to the desktop, run whatever the recommended update sequence is. Even if you update in the big picture interface, it's not going to grab everything from the distro update. I mean, so like, I feel like that is at least one pain point because like I've never had to do that with the Steam Deck. And I mean, maybe you can, maybe I just have never done it, but
I mean, the Steam Deck, you have the benefit of them just dumping new images and then delivering those new images through the 10-foot interface, right? Like that's the difference.
Exactly.
And here you have to use the normal on Cache. You have to use the normal update mechanism. Bazzite, I think it just pulls down new images occasionally, right?
I mean, that's what they say in the documentation, but like I said, I feel like I've been missing out on some stuff. Yeah. Like Nobara has a really nice little welcome interface thing. But even like a whole updater package, and I don't remember the name of that package. But it's not a package; it's an application.
It's like the equivalent of Cache Hello or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really nice, especially on handheld, because even if you go out to desktop, like it's right there. It's just in the dock. You hit the button, it'll scan for updates, and it's not just looking at packages from the main repo. It's also looking at anything from like if there's any flat packs, like the kernel, all that kind of stuff. It's like that's one thing I do miss about Nobara is that package. Or that updater system was actually one of the nicest ones I've used.
Hold on, does it look like this? I think that's a Arch thing. That's the Arch updater. Is what you're saying?
No. Nobara is based off of Fedora.
Oh, it is. Well, maybe they could have ported it from one thing to the other.
Maybe true.
I closed Slack, so I'm going to send it to you in Discord. But basically, you get that with Cache. There's a little Cache updater thing that says, "Hey, you have 45 updates. 41 of them are packages. 3 of them are from the AUR, and one of them's a Flatpak."
Oh no! I mean, I guess I'm seeing your notification, but not the actual like application implementation of it. Like this is like an actual application.
It's like a full window. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Anyway, so
text
I guess
mode applications are applications too, Adam. Jeez.
I know, but I mean, you're right. Like it's a separate GUI, but it's still just lines of text. Well, and so it is a command line, I guess.
On this, when you hit run Cache update, it just opens a text window and you see the scroll go by and it asks you for your password a couple of times and then it's done. Yeah. So anyway, what else you got? What else have you been up to?
Yeah. So on that note, I mean, I guess my biggest thing to talk about is my home theater PC.
Oh no, that was a loaded sigh.
Well, I mean, listen, I want to reiterate that I've been trying to take these things in chunks, right? Mm-hmm. The laptop part, like I've been using that laptop. I have not run into any issues. I haven't talked about the laptop just because I've been using it the way like the way I've configured it has been nice. Like I would say the only update to that is that. Like I guess I've needed to go into Windows less because I'm not doing anything intensive. Mostly I just bring the laptop in for doing stuff at the office. So,
you use Photoshop to make the overlays and stuff for the podcasts and stuff like that, right? Or are you doing that on the desktop in the office?
I'm doing that on the desktop. Yeah. Okay. So I haven't really needed to go into Windows for anything for the most part. So I am using that. I guess I'm not reporting it, but I'm just using
it's your daily driver laptop, which makes sense. Yeah.
So I feel good about that. The home theater PC was the next thing, and I guess I didn't think that I would run into maybe issues isn't the right thing, but stumbles, because like the laptop was complicated, right? Not only is it my daily stuff that I need to do for the for work, I'm also I figured out that VM thing. Mm-hmm. Like I put a lot of effort into that.
Dongle.
Yeah, and so I guess I thought with the home theater PC, oh, it's just got to be easy. Like this is like it's literally just a closest to a utility kind of thing that you can think of, at least for me, other than StreamOS. And so I had no bar on there, was running into issues, and I was like, okay, after talking with people on Discord, I was like, I'm just going to go back to Bazzite. So I reinstalled Bazzite. Had to remember how to figure out the audio thing, which is still like, I want to dig into it for a second because like, I think that's my biggest issue with the home theater PC stuff. The controller stuff, guess what? On Bazzite, just worked perfect. I didn't have to do anything. I mean, other than updating the system, and then it worked. Like I plugged in all my controllers, everything worked. It's the audio stuff specifically that's getting to me.
So,
and
can I ask you some questions about your audio setup before we get into this? Mm-hmm. You're on a TV, right?
Yes.
And usually, like when you watch something on the TV, do you use the TV volume? Do you have a sound bar, a receiver, some speakers or something? Like how do you adjust the volume on the TV usually?
Well, so, I mean, you mean in context of the home theater PC?
Not in the home theater PC.
Oh, not in the home theater PC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's eARC to a sound bar kind of thing.
And
so
then you use
for
the
the most
sound bar volume control to adjust the volume.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay,
so
perfect. Continue then.
So yeah, I don't have a receiver. I don't have any sort of
sound bar fills that.
Well, everything goes into the TV, and then the TV just connects to the sound bar and is controlled there.
Okay.
So
and TV speakers are off usually, right? I assume, or don't even have speakers on the TV. Probably,
it does, but no.
Yeah. Okay. It's garbage. I get it.
Yeah. So for the home theater PC in Windows, like the only thing I'm doing is either I'm outputting to the TV, which is just going over HDMI out, simple, or I'm plugging a headset into my wireless controller. Mm-hmm. It switches automatically, dependent if I plug it in, Windows just automatically switches over to the headphones. Cool, awesome. So that's one thing. Then the second thing is I get audio out of the controller. Great, and it just works exactly how I need to. And like for me, in my mind, like that's got to be just the most simple kind of thing. Are those two things, and that's where I'm getting hung up. So the first one, I mean, I guess the first one was one that I didn't even think was a problem, which was the audio control stuff. So once again, after reinstalling Bazzite, I got that same thing where not only was the audio output really low, even when I would completely max it out, the controls.
This is on the controller only, or on the soundbar and the controller.
Not on the, I mostly play on the headset. So I guess this time I didn't double check the HDMI out. I don't remember. I think over the HDMI audio out, I wasn't having.
And you're running KDE on this?
Yes.
This is Bazzite, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Bazzite with the KDE default. And So then I had to go back and look to my notes from whatever episode, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, you launch Awesome Mixer, and then I had to find that exact device for the output, and then there's a headset and a headset one. One of them is controlled by the actual like interface kind of thing, and the other one just doesn't get controlled. I still don't understand the relationship between those two, but as long as the one that doesn't get controlled is at 100%, then the other one gets controlled and everything's cool.
Weird.
And then I had to remember how to save that, which if I remember correctly, it's sudo alsa ctl something. I can't remember. Just to like save that configuration. The issue, like, so I guess I don't fully understand why there's those two things. Like, so that's just frustrating. Also, there's a difference in KDE when you select the graphical audio thing down on in the taskbar. You hit the little three dots and it gives you like audio output plus mono input, or digital output plus digital input.
Yeah.
There's a pro audio and then something else. And like each one does something different. Like the one that I actually selected that just seems to work is the pro audio. and I don't know why.
So,
but
the Pro Audio is basically like the like it's like a DAW basically. So you can route stuff in and out of different inputs and outputs on a per application, per audio output and input basis using Jack or Patchance or one of those types of tools. I use that on the stream. It's a core technology for StreamOS, Adam.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah, we use that to send stuff to the mixer basically on its own buses. So that like OBS audio is on its own bus and Discord audio is on its own bus and other stuff is on its own bus. But that's weird that you shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to open up the Also Mixer app, which is like what you get when you do advanced audio and you right click on the speaker in KDE and set priorities so that like the controller audio is the number one output, and if that's plugged in, it uses that, and if that's unplugged, then it uses something else. But it sounds like you're either having problems detecting when it's plugged in and not plugged in, or something else is jacked up. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's two things. Yeah, the plug thing is one thing, and I did come across that priority that if it detects it, it'll default to that one. I have not done that yet, but I did find that. So hopefully that solves my problem of when I plug it in. Does it work? Yes or no? But yeah, I'm not getting a consistent output control if I select anything other than Pro Audio. If I select Pro Audio, then I go into the Also Mixer and I have headset, and I always forget which is which, but headset 1 I think stays at 100%, and then headset with no number is the thing that actually gets adjusted.
So it's like you have different. You have two outputs, but they're being detected and controlled by the same bars. Is that what's happening?
It's more like there's a master and then and a bus, or like I'm like that headset 1 is the master
for everything on the headset.
I guess that's my guess.
Weird.
I
should
don't
bring
know.
this into the office so we can plug it in the TV and futz with it and see what like.
I mean, it's just Also Mixer. We could do that on anything, I guess. But I mean, I could show you this one specifically if you want.
I
don't know. That's weird. I mean, but I got it working again. So okay. I got it back to where I was at before I went on my Nobara adventure. I mean, excuse me. It's the same notes I had from a couple episodes ago. So like nothing specific on the Also Mixer stuff.
The other thing I was going to say is you can also just set Linux to pipe everything to all the outputs all the time. So you can just have all of them hot all the time so that like, but then your TV will be on and you'll have to mute the TV or soundbar when you plug in the headset, I guess, which is probably not a desired outcome.
I mean, like
Adam made a real face there for audio.
Yeah. I mean, like I wouldn't be against it.
He was pensive.
Well, but I want to try that check mark because I did notice that thing of like, hey, give this priority. Like I said, I didn't test that, but
I don't use KDE a ton, but when I was setting up the stream machine, I noticed that there is I don't remember how I got there and I don't remember where I found it, but there was a way to say, okay, if this one is active, then always use this one. If this one is less and then use this one and then use this one. So you could set priority, which probably is what you want. The Pro Audio stuff, it seems like a kind of a lot of extra work for what you're doing on that machine.
I mean, once it's set and configured, it's it's done. You know, so like I wish I knew. Maybe somebody can help me. Like describe why all this piping and wiring is so weird on the audio side, or maybe it's not weird. Maybe I shouldn't use that. It's not intuitive. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, like this is the classic, hey, do you want powerful or do you want easy, right? So the Pro Audio is powerful, but it is definitely not easy in my experience. The Also Mixer version, the classic, hey, everything goes out one input or one output and comes in one input, which is the way like Windows works, is the easy way to do this. I also wonder. One of the other things that has always been problematic on Linux when I've used it in the past is the headphone plug-in detection bit, where it doesn't necessarily detect that the headphone, like if you had front panel audio, which we obviously at the Full Nerd Network actively hate because it's bad. Don't use it. But yeah, huge X's across the board. If you, on machines when they first started doing that detection like 15, 20 years ago, where you could plug in the headphones and be like, oh, hey, there's something plugged in here. I'm going to switch back to that output. Mm-hmm. That always worked great on Windows, and it never ever worked on Linux in my experience in those days. So it could be that you're having actually the problem isn't with the mixer. The problem is, it's not realizing that your headphones are plugged into your controller. But anyway, I don't know.
So here's the thing. I have two thoughts on to go forward, and this kind of I would say let's move over to homework. Yeah, because my first one is that a lot of people in the Discord, when I was talking about this stuff, because they were like, hey, listen, I know you're frustrated, but you have to remember that, Linux is people working on this in their time, right? And so if there are a number of people who are gaming with headset audio over controller, then things will get addressed. But, I guess the sentiment I was getting was that I'm doing something that most people aren't doing.
You're doing weird pervert business. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. But sure. Also, okay. The thing I'll say is, even when you're doing weird pervert business, like I was doing with the controller, if you start submitting bug reports, then people pay attention, generally speaking. Like if you say, hey, this isn't working as intended, somebody looks at it, it's like, oh, this is an easy fix. I can fix this. It'll be in the next version. Right.
So I mean, and this kind of takes me back to what I was laughing about earlier when you were talking about the commit stuff, is that maybe this is my situation to say, hey, listen, I have an issue that I can maybe contribute to. I don't know how, like where. I mean, I guess maybe I start by going into Bazzite and seeing if there's other people reporting this issue, or maybe I don't even have a GitHub account, so I guess maybe I need to
create
one of
you have a Microsoft
those.
account, so you have a GitHub account. But
oh, really? Oh, okay.
But yeah, so the first place is to set up a GitHub. Well, I mean, look and see where Bazzite actually keeps their repos. They may be in GitLab or one of the other places too.
I think it's GitHub, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, so like we haven't talked about this. We should maybe do this as a whole episode topic. Is like how do you know when it's something you need to be Googling more? How do you know when it's something you should be submitting bug reports for? How do you know when your problem is an actual problem with the software, not a problem with something you're doing? And like, I think going to the Bazzite GitHub and looking, like figuring out which part of the project this falls under, because they actually only have one big repo for this, so it looks like. So then looking at the issues, there's 802 open issues right now, and searching to see audio, that cuts it down to 100 open issues. And there's a lot of like pass through and switching and broken Bluetooth. Like people are trying to use Bluetooth with their Bluetooth audio.
I've definitely heard a lot of people be like, Bluetooth has been an issue.
here's a audio volume is far Bluetooth. Too low bug. So yeah, like look at the requirements for posting a new issue, because usually like bigger projects will have like a whole template that you fill out for a bug report. That's like, oh, what's your problem? What are you doing? Can you post your logs? What hardware are you running on? All that stuff, and chuck it up there and see if people respond. See what the response is.
Yeah, so I should try that. I think the other sentiment I was getting from Discord when I was chatting with people about this stuff is that I think a lot of this work will get done when the Steam machine comes out too, because how many people are running Linux-based home theater PCs? Right. I mean, this is the same thing before the Steam Deck. How many people were running Linux-based gaming handheld PCs? So the Steam Deck came along, they did a lot of that work. And I would assume that if the Steam machine comes out and the integration with the Steam controller just works awesome, then a lot of that stuff will start to get rolled in, right? And maybe this stuff will just get worked out just because the Steam machine will be this new category of home theater PC that a lot of people didn't realize they need. And that's what I think is going to happen. But that's a side note. And so, but I mean, maybe I can help contribute before that happens. And also, like, I guess me specifically, I'm trying to use that SCUF controller, which SCUF is not I mean, it's not one of the main controller manufacturers. Obviously,
Yeah.
I would say most people are using either a PlayStation or an Xbox controller, but like in terms of controllers outside of that scope, it's not like Scuf is a no name. Like people know who Scuf is. It's owned by Corsair. So like, you know, maybe there's ways that I can help with like getting better support on Scuf aside from the audio stuff. But
and like that stuff, just to be clear, like, hey, I have a weird controller that's kind of unusual. People are really helpful. Like when I reached out about, hey, how can I add my AIO to this thing? I expected them to tell me to pound sand and figure it out. And they were like, oh no, just run these 3 things and then send us the output for that. And then we'll tell you what you need to do to, like, we'll point you at another commit that somebody else had done that was similar. And you can kind of figure it out from there. And like, it was pretty straightforward. So yeah, yeah. Like the tool, it's funny because like the tools for getting that information are so much easier on Linux than they are on Windows. Like there's no easy way on Windows unless you have some like dedicated deep Windows USB debug stuff to get like USB IDs and pull firmware stuff and talk to the hardware directly, because Windows kind of protects you from doing that because you can jack up your stuff if you don't know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. On Linux, nobody cares. They're like, hey, destroy your we don't care. Oh, beep. Sorry. This is the cursiest episode of the Dual Boot Diaries. Yeah, sorry.
Man, you're making me edit.
Things are going well. Sorry, Alex.
There's no Alex anymore.
Oh.
So listen, I'm excited about the new Steam controller. So like maybe all this gets solved with, oh, hey, the Steam controller just becomes kind of the de facto thing, and I just start using that, whatever. But, you know, maybe this is once again a way that I can challenge myself to become a contributor, just like one Will Smith.
Yeah.
The other part too is
I put in the homework for that. Stop doing weird pervert business. Is that you think that's appropriate?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Sure. Maybe subheads of the couple.
I'll put Scuf audio out of controller.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Done.
The other part of it too is that maybe I just need. Like, because then I was thinking, I was like, okay, if people are saying that most people don't do this, which is gaming or, you know, out over controller, I get it. Most people who are probably doing PC gaming or PC work with Linux is desktop stuff like you do. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to not worry about getting audio out of the controller. Maybe I should have some sort of wireless solution. So then I Googled real quick. I was like, okay, is there an audio headset that has the best Linux support? You know, that didn't really prove valuable at all.
Like it doesn't, but like any USB wireless, this is where the USB thing is going to be good, right? Because your USB audio device just shows up as a USB audio device and it'll just work. So like if I plug in Scape, the Fractal Scape headset here, it just works with Linux, no problem. I don't have to install drivers or anything. I can control it with the web interface if I want to change the lights or whatever, I guess. So like if you just plug in a USB headset, it'll just do its thing.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I can't remember. I think we have an extra Scape at the studio, so I could bring that. The other one that gets a lot of attention for gaming style headsets is the Audi's Maxwell 2. Mm-hmm. Supposedly that, like I did Google that one specifically, and supposedly there's people reporting. I mean, some issues if you're using it over Bluetooth, but I wouldn't. I would use the dongle anyway.
Bluetooth for gaming kind of is like, unless you're specifically using Bluetooth headsets that are designed for gaming and your motherboard supports the right Bluetooth codec, Bluetooth specifications, the latency is a problem in my experience.
Yeah. So there's that, you know, I want recommendations. If there's people out there who are like, oh, hey, this is the best supported wireless headset that you know I've been able to find, then awesome. And I mean, my goal, my hope is to find one that is open back. I'm an open back person. There's not that many open back wireless gaming headsets. Like there's a couple, but
I've got a third option. You could just get a long wire.
I mean, I'm
kidding. I'm kidding. Don't do a long wire.
Yeah. I was like, I mean, I did think about it. Think about it.
Just run it under the carpet. It'll be fine. No problems.
Yeah. So I could theoretically do this. I could have a separate thing. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay. So my homework is try Marathon on GeForce Now. Not feeling optimistic about that, but I'll give it a swirl. Google figure out why I couldn't do why I didn't have audio on that Google meeting. Look and see if someone made an achievements toast application for GitHub achievements that works like the Xbox 360. That's maybe the stupidest homework we've ever had.
Love it.
Maybe figure out how to package up this driver that I contributed to for DKMS so I don't have to do that on an ongoing basis. Or I guess the homework is probably figure out how to get DKMS and this driver working so that I don't have to think about it in the future and it just continues to work without me doing anything. And then I'm still getting those Chrome prompts for the password. The fix that I've found for so I'm using Neri GNOME keyring prompts on some applications when I start. So GNOME keyring is the thing. Like typically if you use GNOME, when you log into GNOME, it logs into the GNOME keyring and you don't ever see the prompt to log in. When you're using GNOME and not GNOME, which is a thing you can do because a lot of applications use the GNOME keyring, then you get a prompt that says, hey, you need to type your GNOME keyring password.
It's kind of like KDE Wallet, right? Isn't that the same?
Yeah, same idea as KDE Wallet. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that prompt because I'm already logged in. Mm-hmm. The kind of, I don't know if I would call this a best practice because it doesn't feel like a best practice, is to just remove the password from GNOME keyring. I don't really use a lot of stuff. Like I use 1Password as my password manager. I don't really put like actual secure stuff into the GNOME keyring all that often.
I mean, also, like from what I've heard, like that isn't a password manager replacement anyway.
Well, you can put like your SSH keys for logging into different machines and stuff like that in there, which I do have in there. But yeah, it's like, so I'm just curious if that's a bad idea before I do it. So I'd love feedback from the community. If removing that password is stupid or smart, please let me know. I got a really good Nectalia update that I want to talk about next week. Okay. They've added a ton of like their velocity on this software is kind of nuts. It launched last summer and it's at like version 4.6.5 now, or 4.6.6 as of today.
Dang.
They added things that do like idle sleep, and like we're reaching the point where the basic functionality stuff is all taken care of that I would expect from a computer, and now it's on to like bells and whistles, and it's very exciting.
I think you should contribute to it.
I mean, maybe they when I posted some messages there, they were like, "Hey, you do the English really well. Do you want to write documentation?" I was like, "Man, yes, but also I don't have time for that." So we'll see. And then somebody put an extra one down here at the bottom, which I assume is retribution for the stop doing weird pervert business.
Yeah, who did this? Who put
that says make StreamOS. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing project, right?
Yeah,
like one thing leads to another, and then you have a StreamOS. So.
The thing I realize as we're talking about this is that if I made StreamOS as a NixOS flake, it would just be one config file. And that seems more manageable, because then I would say like install NixOS with this flake, and your business is just done. But also, I don't want to have to learn NixOS. I don't think, because that seems like a lot of work. So anyway, I'm opinionated. I don't know about the OS. We'll see.
All right, I dig it. Also, we should reconsider the name. Yeah, maybe we might want to reconsider the name. Anyway, all right.
Hold on. What do you think? You got better ideas for names?
No, let's leave this to the.
Leave this in the chat.
Yeah. Leave in the chat. What should Will's opinionated streaming distro be? I guess last piece of homework, I guess for me or for everybody, is for Mikey. In 2 weeks' time, I want to give people enough time. We have Mike Dinsiglio, my certified ethical hacker friend, who's been on the show before last year. He's actually going to be in town for the RSAC, so the security conference. Yeah, and he's going to be here in person. And I thought because you missed out on being on that episode with him, that it'd be fun to have him on again.
I would love that.
And kind of talk to him about security stuff. So get your questions in. If you have security related questions, we're gonna have him on. So that's gonna be it'll be a good time.
Every time I talk to Mikey, I learn a ton. So it's always good to have those conversations.
Also, I mean, it's like a lot of people care about security, and I feel like a lot of Linux people care about security as well. So definitely get some questions in for that. But that's it. Check back next week for your fix of Linux talk here on Dual Boot Diaries. To watch this video not live. Well, I mean, we do kind of push it live too. We will be switching. I want to give another heads up. We will be switching to pushing this series live on Thursdays instead of Fridays.
We're getting squeezed out by Russ from Retro Game Core. I see what's going on here.
Expedition Handheld
losing our Friday
squeezing
slot.
in.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's like late night drama.
It's good. Thursday drop, Friday drop. You can still listen to it on Friday. It's fine, but it'll be out on Thursday now if you want to listen to it a day earlier. Yeah,
and if you want to look at our faces as we talk, you can go over to the Full Nerd Network YouTube channel. We've got the Full Nerd, we've got Dual Boot Diaries, now we got Expedition Handheld, all in video form. If you want to listen to us on the go, then you can do that as well. Just listen to us in your ear holes. And I mean, anywhere RSS feeds are pointed to, we should be there. If we're not there, let us know, and we will hopefully get on there. If you have questions for us, I keep forgetting to mention, not only do we have the Discord, which there's a link down in the description, you can go over, there's a DBD questions channel and a whole Linux channel, which has a lot of good discussion over there. We also do have an email.
Electronic mail?
Yeah, the email is,
Really?
now I actually don't remember. I think it's thefullnerd@PCWorld.com. That's it. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Thefullnerd@PCWorld.com. If you don't want to use Discord, I realize that some people don't want to use Discord. So if you have a question for us, get it over there at thefullnerd@PCWorld.com. And yeah, I think that's it.
Do we have a Stoat strategy yet? Are we a Matrix, a Stoat? What are we feeling here on the post Discord Discords?
I've heard people talk about Matrix the most, I guess.
People like Matrix, people like Stoat. There's one that's based on the Blue Sky AT protocol that is wild, and anyway.
Yeah,
TBD.
I mean, so far, like we are still on Discord. I have not seen any impetus yet to get off there. If they start doing draconian stuff, yes, we will definitely look at ways to get off there. But as of right now, everything's just business as usual. So we'll stick there. Okay. I feel like there was something else I was gonna add to the outro, and now I don't remember.
I got homework for everybody.
Uh-oh.
They should leave. If you like the podcast, please consider leaving a positive review on your favorite platform. I mean, you can leave a negative review too if you want.
Do that.
Reviews help us. Reviews help people find us, and we're like getting new people. The interest in desktop Linux has never been higher than it is right now, is what I'll say.
I mean, 2026 year of Linux, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean,
Linux harder.
People have stopped making that joke because I think 2025 literally was. Like, I feel like I hear less people making that joke this year.
Yeah.
So I mean, 2025 was the year we got in on the ground floor.
One of the things I want to do is bring in some guests to talk about their switching experiences. Friend of the show, Nathan Edwards over at The Verge, has been doing a regular column over there about it.
Oh yeah, we should have him on.
There was a PC Gamer podcast last week where they talked about switching to Linux and had kind of ups and downs with it. It was a really fascinating chat. So please, if you leave a review, let's get the word out there. And if you have people you think would be good guests who are making the switch right now, please let us know. We'd love to talk to them. So. Yeah, that's it.
Definitely. Thanks, everybody. We will catch you in the next episode. Until then, always be committing.